Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain. Day 96 of the current situation, and today it's all about the end of the state of alarm, which is going to happen in a few days' time, and that means that people will be able to travel around Spain again and people will finally be allowed to enter the country after a long 3 months. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there. A big thanks to all of the people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to all of the people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, let's have a look at some of the news that has caught my attention over the last couple of days. Apart from the end of the state of alarm, today it's all about the economy, and we can see here that the Bank of Spain has said that the economy sank 34% in the second half of March due to the quarantine. The Bank of Spain has put the drop in activity in Spain at 34% during the period of strict confinement in the first quarter, although it exceeded 70% in the case of commerce, transport and hospitality, as well as in artistic activity and leisure activities. Thus, together with Italy minus 34% or France minus 32%, Spain was one of the most affected in the EU, which had an average of minus 21%, which is far from Germany, which only recorded a drop of minus 13%. So some bad news there for the economy, a drop of 34% during the worst part of the confinement. Remember that the confinement here completely strict. There was virtually no activity at all during the peak of that confinement. I think there was a 10-day period when activity was very, very limited, and we can see that a huge drop in the economy in general, and in some particular sectors exceeding 70%. So bad news there for the economy. So now it's all about the recovery and how long it's going to take. Now, still on the economy and the effect that it's having on people in general and consumer spending, we can see here that banks expect a wave of consumer defaults, and there is a 40% increase in provisions. This segment is one of the largest affected by the confinement decreed by the Spanish government and other countries in March. The Bank of Spain has pointed out on more than one occasion that the first loans that are not paid in a crisis are this type of loan, while people keep paying loans linked to businesses and mortgages for longer. So a wave of defaults on consumer products on the way, according to banks in the country. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, the end of the state of alarm is just around the corner. The 21st of June is the date for that. And a lot of people are anxious to travel, move to different communities here in Spain, different areas, different regions. And of course, when those borders with Europe are going to open up again, and we'll finally be able to travel to other countries and maybe get some type of holiday in this year. So the 21st is the date that we will be able to do that. The government's idea is that there may be unrestricted mobility from midnight on June the 21st, the exact moment when the state of alarm is lifted. From then on, citizens will be able to circulate freely between autonomies, maintaining a series of measures for coexistence whose purpose is to minimize the chances of outbreaks. The Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez also announced last Sunday that the opening of borders with countries of the Schengen area would be advanced to June the 22nd, except for Portugal, which has requested that it be on July the 1st. This opens up new possibilities for travel that have been banned until now during the time of the state of alarm due to the virus crisis. So there we go. June the 21st, we will finally be able to move around Spain, and June the 22nd to other European countries in the Schengen area, except for Portugal, which has decided to keep the borders closed until July the 1st. For the exact reason, I don't know, most likely related to the health situation here in Spain. But July the 1st, Portugal opening up its borders again to Spain. So finally, we'll get back our freedom of movement. And as a result of the state of alarm being lifted, the national rail company here in Spain, Renfe, has said that from this Thursday, they are going to start selling the AVE tickets, which is the fast train here in Spain, to travel in Spain from June the 22nd. Now remember that all of these transport options here in Spain, trains and buses, have been running at reduced capacities over the last 3 months, but finally they're going to start to get back to normal, and Renfe of course putting extra trains on from the 22nd. So again, some more good news for people looking to travel around the country as of that date. Now I mentioned the other day that the UK is also included in the list of countries that are able to travel to Spain from the 21st of June. However, it's not all smooth sailing yet for people from that country, and we can see here that the Spanish Foreign Minister is not ruling out quarantine for UK travellers arriving in Spain. Speaking to the BBC, Arantxa González Laya said that the government could introduce reciprocity if the British government does not lift its requirements. So there we go, a bit of tit for tat going on there between Spain and the UK. If the UK doesn't lift its quarantine measures, Spain may also make it mandatory for people coming here from the UK. So we'll wait and see what happens over the next few days regarding that, because I'm sure that there's lots of people in the UK looking to come to Spain as soon as they can. However, if you're looking to come to Spain this year on a cruise ship, forget about it. Spain has placed an indefinite ban on cruise ships. We can see here that Spain might be welcoming back international tourists this month in an effort to jumpstart the summer season, but the outlook does not look bright for cruise enthusiasts. The ban on cruise ships coming into port has been extended with no end date announced. The Spanish government said the restriction was to avoid any risk being posed to the national population. Now, to me, it seems fairly sensible to ban cruise ships, remembering that that was one of the big problems at the start of the coronavirus, especially in Australia. We had lots of people coming in on cruise ships that were infected, and the longer we can keep those cruise ships away from Spain, the better the health situation is going to be, in my opinion. Now, another quick piece of news related to the economy, and it is that Spaniards are most worried about the serious economic and labour effects of this pandemic. 96.5% of the population are concerned about these consequences. 75.4% would have no problem in extending the state of alarm, and 73% do not plan to go on vacation this summer. So there we have it. The number one worry for Spaniards at the moment is the economy. The health crisis seems to have been put to one side, and 73% not planning to have a holiday this year. So obviously people still worried about traveling, and people obviously don't have the economic security to spend extra money on holidays this year. So not good news there. And finally, some news related to the health situation, and it is from business lobbies who are telling the government that they should prepare for a regrowth in cases because the economy cannot be stopped again. According to one business executive, he says that he's not hearing anything about what Spain is going to do in the event of a possible outbreak of the disease. What has happened in Beijing should be taken as an alarm, and what cannot be done is to stop the economy again as it did in March. This is the warning that Ignacio Osborne, president of the Osborne Group, issued during his speech at the CEOE Business Forum. So business leaders worried here in Spain that there could be outbreaks in the future and that the government is not prepared for them, and that there need to be measures in place in order not to stop the economy if this happens. So it's going to be a very interesting 6 months or so on that front. Now, let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. Firstly, one here from Rick. Hi Stuart, how can wearing a mask in a restaurant work? How do you eat or drink? Do you have to use a straw to drink through a hole in the mask? This is nonsensical. The world is going mad over a nasty form of influenza that has already passed its peak. Yeah, Rick, thanks for the comment. To be honest, in restaurants, you don't have to wear a mask when you are sitting at the table. At least that's what I've seen. You're right, it doesn't make any sense to have a mask on when you are eating unless you have a hole in the mask. How are you going to do it? I did see somebody in China invent a mask that opens and shuts, but that is absolutely stupid. But the rules here are that you have to wear the mask to go into the restaurant. You have to wear the mask if you go to an area that is crowded. But if you are eating and drinking, you don't have to have the mask on, obviously. Regarding the second point that you made, I'm not going to open that can of worms. I know that there are still some people out there that think that this is nothing more than a bad case of influenza, that really there's nothing to be worried about, but the death tolls around the world would tell us otherwise, and that's basically where my opinion sits on that. One here from My Media. Are you getting any updates on the daily infections in Spain anymore? Yeah, thanks for the question. We're not getting it pushed in our faces like we were a few months ago. It doesn't seem to be on the front pages of newspapers here anymore. You can still find the information, and every now and again it pops up in some of the mainstream media, of course, especially when there is an outbreak in a specific area. But to be honest, there's not as much focus as there was in the past. However, we can see here that yesterday Spain registered its highest number of infections in a week, 141, and the Ministry of Health remains unchanged on the total number of deaths. Spain has almost doubled the number of cases of COVID in the last 24 hours, being the highest number in a week. According to data from the Ministry of Health, 141 new infections have been detected compared to 76 yesterday. As for the deceased, 30 deaths have been reported in the last 7 days. However, the total continues to stand at 27,136 deaths, which are, according to some, because of the flu. One here from Ian: I wonder what the travel insurance companies are going to do. Increase the premium, most definitely. And another comment here from Marlene on a similar topic: do people in the UK realise that if they travel to Spain, none of their insurance will be valid? A big risk to take, if you ask me, and there is a possibility that the Spanish government can suddenly enforce quarantine. So I wouldn't advise anyone travelling right now. Yeah, thanks for those comments. Travel insurance, a big question. Are premiums going to increase? Are travel insurance policies going to include these new risks? I don't know. I'm not looking for travel insurance at the moment, but it is going to be a problem, I imagine, for people that are travelling, especially if their travel insurance doesn't cover possible problems that could arise in the future should the situation get out of control in Spain or other countries around the world. Will the Spanish government suddenly enforce a quarantine? I don't know, but that is one of the risks that you will probably have to take this year if you decide to come to a country like Spain. But again, hopefully the situation is under control, or at least it will be better dealt with in the future. One here from Owen: Spain are opening up the borders too early. Things are worsening again in China and New Zealand. It's too much too soon. People can wait for a holiday. Yeah, Owen, thanks for the comment. A lot of people do think that the borders are opening up too quickly. We have seen a recent outbreak in China in the last few days. New Zealand had a problem with a couple of British ladies who decided to travel there and go to a funeral, I think, in one of the parts of the country, which led to people losing their jobs and the Prime Minister admitting that they have a problem somewhere in the system. And we also saw in Germany, I think, in the last couple of days at a meat processing factory that there has also been an outbreak. And this is going to become a regular occurrence moving forward, I think. So we're just going to have to get used to it. One here from 420. Stuart, I think you may be successful doing a regular weekly news video post day 100, a summary of Spanish news for English speakers. I don't live in Spain, but my other half is from Santander, but I would listen in. Best wishes. Yeah, thanks for the comment. I have had it suggested to me that I continue with some type of video along this line. I don't know whether I will or not. It depends how much time I have. If my classes don't pick up again, which is more than likely in the next 6 months, I will continue doing these videos. But again, it depends on the viewers. If people want to watch them, please let me know. I'll put a poll up here so you can answer that question. Do you want me to continue with these videos in the future? One here from Jeff: hope the politics can be sorted out regarding quarantine, as we want our children to come over for a holiday when they feel it's safe. As always, Stuart, enjoyed the contents in chat. It means we can also take our holiday in Calpe. Can't wait, just love the area north of Benidorm. Yeah, Jeff, again, a lot of people waiting for the politics to get sorted out. We don't really know where we stand on the quarantine rules at the moment. We saw earlier that the UK quarantine rules could be a bit of a problem, and it might also mean that British people coming to Spain also have to go into some type of quarantine. Hopefully that's not the case and your family can come over and join you as soon as possible. And regarding that area just north of Benidorm, Calpe and places around there, Alfes del Pi, some fantastic places there, fantastic weather. The beaches are also quite good and the places there are a lot different if you compare them to Benidorm. So I do recommend people checking out those areas just north of Benidorm there on the Levante coast. One here from Nikki G. Hello Stuart, we did the scrappage scheme in Ireland, 4K off a new vehicle if you scrap your old car. It definitely stimulated the car industry. We picked up a little van that ended up being cheaper to pay for and run than the running and maintenance costs for the old one. Thanks for the videos. I guess Portugal versus Spain depends on personal preference, but Portugal has a more favourable tax system at present than Spain. I'd say go where you feel best, regardless. Good luck, guys. Yeah, thanks, Nikki, for the comment. This is about the car scrappage scheme that I mentioned the other day. The government is going to give people money to buy a new car if they take their 10-year-old car or more to the scrap heap. And I didn't know that Ireland had already had one of these plans, and according to you, it seemed to be successful. So maybe it will be successful here in Spain as well. I don't know. All I know that my car is about 10 years old this year and I don't really want to have to take it to the scrap heap just yet. I think I could squeeze a few more kilometres out of it, but again, I don't know whether the government is going to allow me to do it. One here from Tom. Hi Stuart, great channel and very informative. We're Scottish and have been here in La Cala de Mijas since the 9th of March. We came out for the AGM for our community and went into lockdown 5 days later. We've had our eyes open pleasantly, I will add, as we've seen another side of the Spanish people. We've had a house here for 10 years, but never really got to know the locals as they were always too busy with bloody tourists. We now know the local folk who couldn't be more friendly and helpful. I think when the tourists flock back, which I appreciate the economy needs, we will still remain special friends of the locals. Fantastic country and people. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Tom, and good to see that you got to know the locals. I would encourage everybody that comes to Spain to live to get to know the local population, learn the language a little bit, learn some of the cultural aspects, and mix with the local population. Spanish people are generally nice and friendly, and it does make the experience of living in the country a lot better if you do mix with the local population. And it's amazing what you'll be able to learn if you do have contact with the locals. And finally, one here from Cole McD. Great update as always, Stuart. Have you got the cake and candles ready for the 22nd? Yeah, thanks for the comment, Cole. To be honest, I haven't got a cake and candles ready for that day. What Cole is referring to is the 100th day of the situation here in Spain. I started doing these videos about 100 days ago, and we're finally going to get up to that 100 mark on the 22nd, apparently. A few people have told me that it's the 22nd, but to be honest, I haven't checked, so I'll have to take people's word for it, but I will try to organize something for that day or the day after. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.